You know, we spend a lot of time on this show looking up at the stars, or I guess looking forward into the future of tech and things like that.
Right. Always looking for the next big thing.
Exactly. We're always trying to find the possibility of alien life.
Yeah.
But I was reading through the stack of notes we have for you today, and it really hit me. To find the truly alien, the truly bizarre, and the scientifically magical, you don't actually need a spaceship.
No, you really don't. You just need a snorkel.
Yeah, a snorkel.
Or maybe a magnifying glass and a very deep breath. Because the creatures we're analyzing today are, well, they're often no bigger than a fingernail. Yet they possess these literal superpowers that make science fiction look a bit boring.
Yeah, boring. Welcome back to the deep dive, everyone. Today we are trying something a little different for you. We are calling this our special study notes edition.
The study notes edition, I like that.
Thanks. So the goal here for you, the listener, is understandable and fast learning. We've got this incredible visual guide to marine biology, specifically a huge stack of research on sea slugs.
Right.
And we're going to read it alongside a Pokédex.
Which sounds like a very strange combination, doesn't it?
It really does.
Serious marine biology and Pokemon.
Ah.
But as we dig into these sources, the comparison isn't just for fun. It's actually the absolute best way to understand the sheer biodiversity of Nudibranch.
Nudibranchs. That is the scientific star of our deep dive today. Now, before we get to the ones that literally shoot poison or run on solar power, we kind of have to unpack that name because it's a bit of a mouthful.
It is a mouthful, and it's a bit of a biological vulnerability, too.
How so?
Well, the word nudibranch comes from the Latin nudus, which means naked,
Okay.
and the Greek branchia, meaning gills. So literally translated, it means naked gills.
Which, biologically speaking, sounds like a terrible idea. I mean, snails have shells for a reason, right?
Yes, they do.
You have these incredibly soft, delicate organs that you literally need to breathe, and you just let them flop around out in the open ocean.
It does seem completely suicidal, doesn't it? Being a slow-moving, soft-bodied protein snack in an ocean that is just packed full of hungry crabs and fish.
Yeah.
By all logic, they should have gone extinct millions of years ago. But this is exactly where our first study note vocabulary word comes in.
Right. Let's do the vocabulary warm-up. We want to prepare your ear for the key English words in today's source material. The text actually describes their survival strategy with our first word, which is unique.
You mean
It's a word we use a lot, but in this specific context, it's doing some really heavy lifting. It basically means being the only one of its kind or unlike anything else.
exactly? In the source text, the marine biologist Andy Swagler uses unique to explain that because they lost their shells, every single species, and there are over 3,000 of them, had to develop a completely different specialized way to survive.
They traded their armor for superpowers.
They did.
So, unique here doesn't just mean special. It means evolutionarily creative, and that creativity is exactly where the Pokémon comparison comes in. Let's look at the most famous one in our stack, the Pikachu connection.
Ah, yes. The Cassera pacifica.
Yeah.
This is definitely a crowd favorite.
I am looking at the photo from the guide here, and honestly, if you told me the illustrators of Pokémon just traced this animal, I'd believe you. It's got this bright neon yellow body, black tips on the tail and ears, and these electric blue patches. It is literally Pikachu.
It is uncanny. Divers off the coast of Japan absolutely go crazy for them.
I bet.
But there is a massive biological misunderstanding that happens when people look at this slug. You just mentioned its ears.
Right, the pointy black-tipped things on top of its head, they look exactly like rabbit ears.
They do, but biologically they are not ears at all. They are called rhinophores.
Rhinophores. That's a great piece of jargon. Let's break that down for the study note.
Sure, it comes from rhino, which refers to the nose, and for, meaning to carry or bear. So they aren't for hearing. They are actually for smelling.
Wait, so it smells with its ears?
Effectively, yes.
Yeah.
But they don't smell the air. These are chemical sensors. They taste the water column around them. They're constantly detecting chemical trails of food or potential mates drifting in the ocean current.
That is wild. So it's navigating the whole world through a chemical map. But, okay, the big question for you. Does it have the Thunderbolt? Can it shock you?
Sadly, no electricity. But it does have a defense mechanism that is arguably much more effective. The source material tags this creature with our next study note adjective, which is toxic.
Toxic. Okay, so poisonous. Harmful if eaten or touched.
Yes, And this connects directly to why it is bright yellow. In biology, we call this aposematism.
Aposematism. That's a very fancy way of saying I'm wearing a warning sign.
Exactly. Think about it. In nature, if you are tasty and defenseless, you hide. You act like a ninja. You blend in with the sand.
Right.
But if you are neon yellow, you are broadcasting a signal to the whole reef. You are screaming, I am here, I am bright, and if you take a bite, you will deeply regret it.
So it's a bluff. Or actually, wait, it's not a bluff, is it?
It's definitely not a bluff. And this brings us to another key vocabulary term from our warm-up list today. Non-moving.
Non-moving, stationary, not able to move around. This describes their diet, right?
Correct. The text points out that many of these slugs feed on sea sponges. Now, sponges are technically animals, but they are non-moving. They are stationary. They're literally stuck to the rock.
Which sounds like an incredibly easy lunch. It's a buffet that can't run away from you.
You'd think so. But because sponges can't run, they fight back with chemical warfare. They are absolutely full of nasty toxins to stop fish from eating them.
So the food itself is poisonous.
Highly poisonous.
Oh.
But the Pikachu nudibranch and many other species have evolved to eat this toxic sponge anyway. And here is the truly unique part. They don't just digest it. They isolate the toxins and store them in their own skin.
Wait, they steal the weapon?
They steal the weapon. They literally become what they eat. So when a hungry fish sees that bright yellow Pikachu slug, it knows instinctively that thing is full of sponge poison. Do not touch.
That is incredible efficiency. Why make your own poison when you can just steal it from your lunch?
Precisely. And speaking of stealing things, that brings us to the second creature in our deep dive today. And this one might be the strangest animal I have ever read about in my entire career.
You're talking about the leaf sheep.
The Costaciella carotimae. Now, technically, our source notes clarify this is a secaglossans sea slug, which is a close cousin to the nudibranch, but we really have to include it here because of the Pokémon connection.
It looks exactly like the Pokémon shaman, specifically the green structures on its back. It's this tiny, adorable thing about 5 millimeters long, so the size of a grain of rice, and it looks like a cartoon sheep made entirely out of glowing green leaves.
It is incredibly cute. But the superpower listed in the research is what really matters. It says its ability is solar power.
Solar power. Now hold on. Animals eat food for energy. Plants use solar power photosynthesis. That is the most basic divide of Biology 101.
Usually, yes. But the leaf sheep completely breaks that rule. It eats algae. But instead of digesting the green parts, the chloroplasts, it sucks them out and stores them alive inside those little leaves on its back.
So it actually has living plant parts functioning inside its own body?
It does. It's a biological process called kleptoplasty.
Kleptoplasty. Okay, I'm hearing the root word klepto in there, like a kleptomaniac.
Yeah.
Like a thief.
You got it. Plasty refers to the plastids or chloroplasts, so it is literally a chloroplast thief. Once it steals enough of these solar panels from the algae, it can technically just stop eating. It can just sit out in the sunshine and absorb energy directly, just like a plant.
That is mind-blowing. Imagine if you could just do that. You just skip your lunch break and go stand out in the office parking lot for 20 minutes to get full.
It would certainly revolutionize the restaurant industry.
It really would.
But it shows just how fluid the rules are underwater. The distinction between plant and animal gets very blurry when you're a sea slug.
Okay, I want to shift gears a little bit here for the study notes. We've talked a lot about biology, but I want to talk about behavior and language. Our source material has a great section here on the Spanish dancer.
The Hexabranchus sanguineus, the absolute giant of the group.
Right, and the text compares it to the Pokémon Tatsugiri and Dondozo. Instead of just listing facts, the source paints a really vivid picture of how this animal moves. I want you to just close your eyes for a second while I read this short story adaptation from the text. This is going to be great for your language sense.
Go for it.
Okay, here we go. The Spanish dancer is a giant among slugs, growing up to 33 centimeters long. During the day, it prefers to hang out in dark coral caves to stay safe from hungry crabs. But if danger approaches, it becomes an escape artist. It launches into the water column and ripples its bright red body, chowing down on large sponges once it finds a new, safe reef. It's just like how Tatsugiri survives by hiding inside Dondozo's mouth.
It's a fantastic visual.
It really is. Now, let's break down some of the core English phrases I just read, because they are super useful for your everyday conversation. First up, hang out in.
Hang out in.
Yeah. The text said it prefers to hang out in dark coral caves. It's a casual way to say it spends time in a specific place. You wouldn't usually use it for an animal.
Right. You usually hear it used for teenagers at a mall.
Yeah.
Applying it to a sea slug gives it this real sense of personality. It implies the slug is just loitering, relaxing in the shadows.
Exactly. It's not just living there, it's hanging out. And why is it hanging out there? That brings us to our second phrase, stay safe from. The text says it hides to stay safe from hungry crabs.
Stay safe from. It's a very simple phrase, but it perfectly highlights the motivation. Even a giant slug is vulnerable down there, is protecting itself from danger.
But if it gets caught, it dances.
And this is a spectacular sight to witness. It unfurls the edges of its body, its mantle, and ripples them forcefully. It looks exactly like the red skirt of a flamenco dancer swirling around in the water. That is how it earned its name.
And that dance isn't just for show, it allows it to swim away from the crabs.
Correct. It rides the current. And once the danger is gone, the text says it goes back to the reef. And what was the phrase?
Chows down on. It chows down on sponges. That's our third key phrase.
Chows down on.
It's such a fun, informal way to say it eats enthusiastically. It's not just politely nibbling. Because this animal is so big, it needs a ton of calories. It is chowing down.
I love that phrase.
Me too. Now, there's another descriptive adjective from our warm-up that pops up in this section, and it applies to the white Tritoniopsis. The word is feathery.
Feathery. Soft and light, resembling the feathers of a bird. This is all about texture.
Right. The source describes its gills as feathery.
If you look at the white Tritoniopsis, it's this ghostly white creature. And the gills all along its back really do look exactly like the soft, downy feathers of a bird.
It's beautiful, but as we are learning today, beauty always has a function. Why look like feathers?
Camouflage. It lives entirely on soft corals that have that exact same feathery texture. It blends in perfectly, so predators just scan right past it. But there is a huge ecological twist here. This specific slug is actually an environmental hero.
A hero? How?
Well, this brings us to our final study note vocabulary word. Invasive.
Invasive. A species that spreads into a new habitat where it doesn't belong and causes harm. Usually when we talk about invasive species, we're talking about weeds or rats.
Exactly. But the text mentions snowflake coral. It is a highly invasive species in many tropical waters. It spreads incredibly fast and literally suffocates the native marine life. It's an ecological bully.
But the white Tritoniopsis eats it.
It absolutely loves it. It's one of the very few predators that specializes in eating this invasive coral. So it's not just a pretty face. It is actively helping to keep the entire ecosystem in balance by removing the invader.
It's like a specialized underwater cleanup crew.
Okay.
We have a couple more quick comparisons here in the defense section that I really want to touch on, just because they highlight the sheer weirdness of these animals. The notes mention the variable neon slug, which looks a lot like the Pokémon Gastrodon.
Ah, yes, the slime stiper.
That sounds incredibly gross.
It is extremely gross, but it's effective. If a crab tries to grab this slug, it releases a massive amount of thick, sticky mucus.
We are talking about slime that is so dense it can actually clog the gills of a predator or literally glue its mouth shut.
So it suffocates the attacker with slime.
Or it just makes itself so disgusting and slippery that the predator spits it out in disgust. Interestingly enough, medical scientists are actually studying these specific slimes right now to develop new surgical glues for humans.
Of course they are. Nature always has the best tech. And then there is the yellow-dotted Doris. It looks like the mushroom Pokémon Parasect. Its ability is listed as Sponge Sucker, which brings us right back to that you are what you eat theme. It absorbs the toxins. But notice the specificity here. Each of these slugs usually eats only one specific type of sponge. They are hyper-specialized.
Which makes them really vulnerable, right? If that one specific sponge dies out, the slug dies too.
Exactly. And that is the perfect segue to the final section of our study notes today, the eco-friendly notes.
This is the application part for you, how to talk about environmental protection in English. We've learned about these amazing creatures, but the source makes it very clear that they are fragile. It lists how you can help. And the first point is something I honestly hadn't connected to sea slugs before, reef-safe sunscreen.
This is a massive topic in marine conservation right now.
Walk us through the connection there, because I wear sunscreen to stop getting burned while I'm swimming on the surface. How does my sunscreen hurt a slug all the way on the bottom of the ocean?
It all comes down to chemistry. Standard sun creams often use harsh chemicals like oxybenzone to block the UV rays. When you swim, that washes off your skin into the water.
Okay, so it dilutes into the ocean. It's a huge ocean.
It is, but even in tiny concentrations, we're talking about drops in an Olympic-sized swimming pool, those chemicals can be highly toxic to coral larvae and the microscopic sponge larvae that these slugs rely on to survive.
So it essentially kills the food source.
It suffocates them. It completely disrupts the endocrine systems of the reef. It prevents any new corals and sponges from growing. So when the notes say to choose reef-safe sunscreen, they mean using mineral blockers, like zinc oxide, that don't dissolve and poison the water. You are actively protecting the food chain from the bottom up.
That is a really actionable tip. Just checking the label can save a reef. The second tip here is even simpler, picking up litter.
It sounds so obvious, doesn't it? Don't litter. But you have to think about the scale of these animals again. To a whale, a floating plastic bottle is an annoyance. But to a nudibranch that is only 5 millimeters long, living in a rock pool, a plastic bottle cap is a death trap.
It's like a solid wall to them.
It's a wall. Or it changes the temperature of the rock pool, or they get physically stuck underneath it. Micro-litter creates micro-disasters for these tiny creatures.
So reef-safe sunscreen and picking up litter, two great phrases to add to your English vocabulary, but also two vital actions to add to your beach trips.
Absolutely. It's about realizing that our simple actions on land directly affect the aliens living underwater.
Okay, we are nearing the end of our deep dive today, but before we wrap up, I want to test you, the listener, and you as well, with a quick interactive segment.
A pop quiz. I am ready.
We are going to play a Guess the Slug game based on the abilities and descriptions we've discussed today. I'm going to read a clue from our notes. I want you to drop the English name in the comments or just shout it out if you know it.
Let's hear the clues.
Okay, listen closely. This nudibranch has a superpower called Smell Shield. It releases toxic chemicals into the water so that predators can sense it and stay away before they even take a bite. It looks strikingly like the Pokémon Dratini, and it feeds on sponges.
Okay, let me think. The ability is a chemical smell shield. The appearance is like Dratini, so it probably has those beautiful blue and white stripes. And it's a sponge eater.
Do you know it?
I do. It's a very specific name.
Listeners, do you have your guesses ready? The answer is Willen's Chromodoros.
Chromodoros willani, a truly stunning creature. And fun fact, Willen refers to Dr. Richard Willen, who is a renowned scientist who has spent his entire life studying these animals.
I really hope some of you got that right in the comments. So looking at this whole stack of research today, from the solar-powered leaf sheep to the toxic Pikachu to the dancing red giant, what is the one main takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think it's the profound realization that truth is always stranger than fiction. We humans invented Pokémon because we wanted to imagine a world full of magical, elemental monsters. Fire types, grass types, poison types. But nature did it first.
And nature did it with way better graphics.
Much better graphics. And the source mentions there are over 3,000 species of nudibranch, but only about 1,000 known Pokémon. Real nature is vastly more diverse and creative than human imagination.
That is a wonderful thought. There is still so much out there to discover, which actually leaves me with a final thought for you to mull over.
Oh.
Think about it. If these microscopic slugs can literally steal chloroplasts to photosynthesize or incorporate deadly toxins directly into their own flesh without dying, what happens when human medicine fully figures out how to sequence and replicate those exact genetic traits? Imagine a future where we could borrow beneficial traits from the things we eat, just like a sea slug. The cure to our biggest diseases might literally be hiding inside a 5 millimeter slug that looks like a cartoon sheep.
That is a staggering thought. The microscopic world is holding secrets we haven't even begun to understand.
Well, I hope this deep dive has added a little color and some new vocabulary to your commute or your evening. Maybe next time you're at the beach, you'll look a little closer at the tide pools. You might just find a monster.
Or a masterpiece.
Thank you for joining us for this special study notes edition of our deep dive. Keep those ears or rhinophores open and stay curious.
See you next time.